Good morning, children. Let's continue with our geography lesson, chapter 3, Physiography and Drainage. In the previous session, we had discussed about the North Indian plains, the coastal plains, the peninsular region, and the islands of the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. Now let's continue with Brazil physical features. Now if you look at the physical features of Brazil, we'll find the Brazilian highlands, okay? Then we have the Great Escarpment, then the coastal plains along the north and the eastern part of Brazil, the Amazon River Basin, as well as the islands. Okay, now just have a look at the physical features of Brazil. On this map, you'll find that most of Brazil is made up of plateaus and highlands. Okay, now the maximum, if you look at the height in meters, you'll find the max of these, this orange color. Okay, now this is that the maximum height attained by these places is just about say 1,000. Okay, now compare that with India. You find if you take the mountains here in India, for example the Himalaya mountains, you find most of its ranges will be above say 6,000 meters. Okay, compare that with Brazil. Okay, now let's move over to the physical features of Brazil. Now Brazil is occupied by highlands, plateaus and small mountains, and there are no high and long extending mountains. Now when you compare that with India, you find most of the mountains, say the Himalaya mountains, together with its other ranges, you find, as I told you, will be about say 6,000 meters, and they are also long and extending. Okay, so here you find they are actually small highlands and plateaus and even mountains. They are not long and extending. No wide plains except the Amazon basin and the Paraguay basin. Now if you look at the plains, you find we have very few plains which are wide except for the Amazon basin and the Paraguay basin. So look at the Amazon basin here. Okay, can you see the Amazon River basin? Okay, now and here we have the Paraguay River basin. Okay, now look into the the highest plateau here. This is Pico de Neblina. Okay, this is the highest peak here in Brazil. Okay, and you find it more along the border of Brazil and Venezuela. Okay, locate the Guiana Highlands here. Okay, then we have the small island here, that is Maraju Island. Okay, so this is a river island. Okay, this formed as a result of deposition. Okay, this is Maracho Island here, that's a river island. Okay, then we have the bay here, this is São Marcos Bay. Okay, then Maraju Bay. Okay, then this is Brazilian Highland along the eastern part of Brazil. It is also called the Brazilian Plateau or even Brazilian Shield. Okay, then São Francisco River. This is the only river which flows through the entire length of Brazil along the eastern part and opens into the North Atlantic Ocean. Okay, then we have the Great Escarpment. Okay, and we have the North Atlantic Ocean along the northern part and the South Atlantic Ocean along the eastern part of Brazil. Okay. So as I said, except for the Amazon basin and the Paraguay basin, we have no wild plains seen in Brazil, and coastal plains are also restricted in the expanse. Okay. So when you compare that with India, when you look at the eastern coastal plain of India, here too you find the coastal plain is very narrow. Compare that with eastern coastal plains, which are broad. Then physiographic divisions of Brazil can be broadly divided into the highlands, then the Great Escarpment, the coastal region, the plains, and the island groups. Come to the highlands. Now, southern Brazil is occupied by a very extensive plateau, and this is known as the Brazilian highland. Okay. The Brazilian highland and the Guiana highland together form the core of the South American continent. Okay. Now, look at the Brazilian highland. Okay. So, this is a Brazilian highland, and the Brazilian highland together with Guiana highland form the core of the South American continent. The main part of the Guiana highland is in Venezuela, and it extends up to French Guiana. Okay. So, most of the parts of Guiana highland can be seen in Venezuela, and it extends up to French Guiana. Okay. So, this is Guiana highlands. Okay. And most of the part of it is in Venezuela, and Guiana highlands can be seen extending even up to, this is French Guiana. Okay. The lower part of these highlands is found in Brazil. So, southern part of Guiana highlands can be seen in Brazil. The highest peak in Brazil is Pico de Neblina. Its height is 3014 meters, and it lies between Brazil and Venezuela. Okay. Now, this is Pico de Neblina, 3014 meters, and it is seen, this is Venezuela and this is Brazil. So, it is seen between Venezuela and Brazil. So, compare that with many of the ranges, mountain ranges in India. Okay, the highest mountain peak is just about 3014 meters. On the eastern part of the Brazilian highland, the altitude is 1000 meters, but in other parts it is between 500 to 1000 meters. Okay, so along the eastern part of Brazilian highlands, you find the maximum altitude attained is just about 1000 meters. And other parts of Brazil you can find between, say, 500 to 1000 meters. The highlands slope towards the north. The tributaries of the Amazon make rapids and waterfalls. Okay, so the Brazilian highlands slopes towards the north, and hence you find the Amazon river, flows towards the north, and along its way it makes many rapids and waterfalls. A number of rivers take off from the terminal portion of the highlands and flow northwards to meet the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so if you look at the map here, you find because of the slope of the Brazilian highlands, the Amazon river, flows north, and along its way it makes various rapids and waterfalls. Okay, and the Amazon river is also joined by many tributaries. Okay, if you see Purus, Japura, okay, Negro River, okay. So these are the various rivers which meet the Amazon river along its way, and it flows into the North Atlantic Ocean. Next is the Great Escarpment. Now, the slope of the Brazilian highland is steep towards the east, and it appears in the form of an escarpment. So, if you look at the Brazilian highland, we find it is rather steeper along the eastern side, and hence it forms an escarpment. though we find it affects it's a very small area. If you take the the escarpment, you find it is a very small area, but we find it has a great influence on the climate of Brazil. Its height is just about 790 meters, and it is particularly very, very steep from Sao Paulo to Porto Alegre. The escarpment acts as a barrier, a hindrance to southeast trade winds which move from the South Atlantic Ocean, and hence this results in the formation of a rain shadow region. And hence you find northeastern part of the highland, that is the Brazilian highland, get very low rainfall. That's the reason why region which is found to north of the Brazilian highland is known as a Drought Quadrilateral. Okay, so look at the escarpment here. Okay, now if you take the eastern part, okay, of the Brazilian highland, as I said, it is very, very steep, and it appears in the form of an escarpment. Okay, though we find, as I said, though you find the region is very, very small, it's just about 790 meters, though its height is only about 790 meters, we find it has a great influence on the climate of Brazil, because when the southeast trade winds carry moisture from the Atlantic Ocean, you find this creates a rain shadow region to places, to all those areas which lie to the northeastern part of the highland, and hence we find regions which lie along the northeast as well as the north of Brazil get very low rainfall, and this region is called as the Drought Quadrilateral. Okay, now let's come to the coast. Okay, now look at the coastal region of Brazil. Okay, we have the extensive coastline in Brazil. As in India we have 7,500 kilometers, but here in Brazil the coastline is about 7,400 kilometers. Okay, here you can divide it into the northern and the eastern coast. Okay, Brazil has a long coastline about 7,400 kilometers, and we can divide it into the northern and the eastern coast. Towards the north, it extends from Amapá province to Rio de Grande Norte in the east, and this is the North Atlantic coast and is characterized by the mouths of many rivers including the Amazon. Okay, so look at this here. Now the northern coast consists of the mouths of many rivers like the Amazon as well as its tributaries, and extends from Amapá province to Rio Grande, Norte in the north. Okay, and this consists of, as I said, the mouths of many rivers. Then you would have also seen a large coastal island called Maraju, and it's found between the mouths of rivers Amazon and Tocantins. Along the eastern part, you find the most important river is the São Francisco River, and this opens into the South Atlantic Ocean. Apart from this, you find there are many beaches, sand dunes, reefs and atolls along the coastal part of Brazil. Next is the plains. The Amazon plain is the largest plain land in Brazil, and it slopes eastward but wide in the west and narrows eastward. So if you look at the plains, okay, the largest plain found in Brazil is Amazon plain. Okay, and because it slopes towards the east, but you find along the western side it is wide and it narrows down towards the east. When it approaches the Atlantic Ocean, you find the width goes on increasing. And if you look at the, Amazon plain, you find it is covered with dense tropical rainforest, which is highly inaccessible, and that is because of frequent flooding of the rivers. Okay, now next is the second plain, which is located towards the southwestern part of the Highlands, and this is the source of the Parana and the Paraguay rivers. Towards the southwest part of the Brazilian highland is the Pantanal, which is the largest wetland in the world. Okay, now, as I said, we have the plains, the Amazon River basin, and then we have the Paraguay. Okay, this is the Parana River and the Paraguay River. And here is the Pantanal. Pantanal is the largest wetland in the world. Okay. Now, to the southwest part of the Brazilian highlands, as I said, we have the Pantanal, which is the largest wetland in the world. This region is a region of swamps and marshes. Okay, and this is seen in Mato Grosso do Sul, and this extends even up to Argentina. Okay, so Pantanal extends even up to Argentina. Now, let's come over to islands. In India, we have two groups of islands. One is in the Arabian Sea, called the Lakshadweep Islands, and the other one is the Andaman Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal. Here, two groups of islands can be seen. The coastal islands, which are found very near the coast, formed due to deposition, okay, of alluvium. And the second one is the Marine Islands. Now, Marine Islands will be seen far away from the mainland, usually about, say, 300 kilometers away in the Atlantic Ocean. Most of these islands are rocky, and they are tops of submerged mountains. Okay, so most of the islands that you see are usually rocky, okay, and they are tops of submerged islands. And apart from this, we find there are also coral islands called atolls, which are seen in the South Atlantic Ocean. Okay, now, so I'll show you the, okay, see, this is Maraju Island. Okay, this is formed as a result of deposition of alluvium. This is a coastal island. Okay, now let's come over to the questions here. We already finished with this part. Let's come over to some, just try brushing up your memory. Brazil is covered mainly by highlands, plains, mountainous region, dissected hills. Yes, children, what's the answer? It is highlands. Brazil is mainly covered by islands. The Great Escarpment gives rise to the rain shadow region in the northeastern part of the Andes Mountain, Brazilian Highland, Guyana Highland, Amazon Basin. So what's the answer? It is Brazilian Highland. Third one, the Amazon Basin is mainly characterized by droughts, filled by swamps, covered by dense forests, fertile. Okay, so they are covered by dense forests. These are dense equatorial forests. Yes, children. So we come to the end of this part. We'll continue with this lesson and the next session. Till then, go through the video, go through this lesson. Thank you.